All right, hi guys. Welcome to this tutorial session with Ram. I promised on my IG page to release a video tutorial that teaches on how I color graded this photo, how I moved it from here to here. And so I'll be doing just exactly that. I'll be teaching you. So please pay attention. It's a series of fine steps, little adjustments. So just stick with me throughout, and then at the end of the day, you learn how to create this very beautiful skin tone for this image. So let's get into it. So I'm going to delete this and then we start. All right, so here's the image that I have, and there's a photo that I shot of this beautiful lady, Aseye, and yeah, so the photo that I shot of Aseye, and that's straight out of camera. Let me show you straight out of camera. So did my removals, and then my skin preparations, my dodging and burning, and then now we are here with this file. So we'll be taking, normally after I do my skin tone, my skin preparation, that is with the blemish removals and all that, my fragrance separation or dodging and burning, I stamp a visible layer, which is my final layer that I'm going to reference when I'm color grading, especially regarding creation of luminosity mask. You may need this final layer. You may need this visible layer, this stamped layer that contains everything that you've done, and to do the luminosity masks. And if you are not familiar with luminosity masks, you can check my other videos where I explained luminosity masks. For the sake of time, I wouldn't go into that today. All right, so let's jump into this. Promise it's going to be fast. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to be referencing, my steps, because what I say is that I don't normally deal with presets or stuff like that, because I tone my images according to the mood I'm in. So if I'm to tone this image right now, maybe a bit different. So I'm going to go strictly to the values and steps that I used in creating the original photo. So the first thing I did with this image was to create an HSL layer over here, that's hue saturation adjustment layer. And then I moved to my reds, okay, to my reds. And then what I did with the reds was to desaturate it a bit, as you can see. So about -27, yeah, it's desaturated this way. And I also lowered the lightness, okay, to just a little bit, to -2. So this before and after, okay. And there's one step that I'll recommend, especially if you're trying to create that dark melanin tone. Be sure to at least reduce the saturation on the reds, okay, before you start. It prevents the photo from looking very hot, reddish, that kind of thing. So it's a good start, and make sure you do it at the beginning. All right, so the next thing is what I usually do, that's with my color balance, to tone the image as well. Okay, so first I start with my highlights, create a color balance here, come to the tones and select highlights. Now in the highlights, you want to move the blues to 10, add a bit of blues to 10, just put it in here. Okay, and then you want to add a bit of magenta, about -9. You know, opposite of magenta is green. So green on the other side, magenta here. So you want to bring it to about 9, -9. That means that you're adding 9% magenta. Okay. Yeah, let me just, like I said, I'm going to be dealing with strict values here. Then also, you want to add a bit of cyan, which is about 14 into the 14 into the highlights. Okay, so now that we are done with the highlights, now, like I said, I'm going to be referencing the luminosity masks. So with my luminosity, I'll come to the layer mask, and then I'll go to image, apply image. Like I said, if you are not familiar with the luminosity mask, please reference my other videos on my channel or my IGTV. Okay, then come to the On your layer here, choose layer 2. I'm not going to be explaining this too much. All right. Then do not invert. Leave everything as it is. So there's the layer mask that we have here, which means that this, anywhere you see white is where the effect is going to be applied to. And normally you are targeting the highlights, so the brighter sides are the highlights, and that's where the effect is going to be most concentrated. Okay. All right. So the next thing is I'll come to my midtones, another color balance layer. My midtones by default is set to midtones, and then in midtones we want to add a bit of yellows. That's about just a tiny bit, -3, 4 is fine. Okay, so -3. And then you want to add a bit of magenta, also about -3. Normally, what I say is that with color grading, work on your judgment a lot, because when you're dealing with your image, you're not going to be retouching this image, you're going to be dealing with your image. So work on your judgments. Let your eyes be able to judge well, because it's going to be on intuition, how you feel, how you look at the colors. Okay, so just make sure you work on what good is. You learn what good is so that you don't spend your time perfecting something that shouldn't be perfected. Okay, so you want to come to the reds, and you want to add a bit of reds. It's about 6 here, 6 or 7. That's fine. Okay. Then you want to come here to the layer mask and go to image, apply image to create a layer luminosity mask. By this time I want to invert, because you're dealing with midtones, which are part of shadows. Okay. All right. So this is before and after. Before and after. Very subtle changes. Okay. Then you want to come to the shadows. Still with the color balance, tones, shadows. And in the shadows, what you do is that you want to add a bit of yellow, just a tiny bit, about -1. Then you want to add a bit of green into it, unfortunately. All right. And then you want to add a bit of red also. That's about 4. I think this is fine. Yeah, that's fine. So you just copy the layer mask over here onto it, because you're still dealing with shadows. So you hold Alt and you drag this onto the layer over here. All right. So there's before and after. Before and after. So now you've dealt with the color balance. That's the tone, but that's not the tone we are going for. But I'll get there. Okay. So the next step is something very important. I want you to pay attention to it. I come to my selective layer adjustments. And then I come to my yellows. Now, what I'm going to be doing here is that if you see the image, the skin tone very well, you see a lot of yellows inside. For instance, let me just do this. You would see, let me pick a color over here. I think this yellow is fine. Okay, so you'll see yellows over here, yellows over here, a lot of yellows in here, a lot of yellows in here, yellows in here, a lot of yellows in here, in here, in here. And basically the highlight areas, there's so much yellows in there. So we'll be dealing with that at this stage, and watch how I do it. Okay, so in the selective layer, selective color adjustment layer, we want to come to the yellows. Now in the yellows, what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be moving all the yellow tones into reds. Okay, I'm going to move all the yellow tones into red. So what I'll do is I'll bring in a bit of, in the yellows, I'll dial down the yellows a bit. That's bringing in blues, okay, about -15. So you can see the change as we work, -15. Okay, so this is before and after, before and after already. And then you want to add a bit of magenta. Don't forget what we are doing is that we're moving everything into reds. About 11, it's fine. Then also you want to bring in a bit of cyan. Okay, that's -15. right? Okay. Sorry, a bit of reds. Okay, you're moving to this side, so a bit of reds. That's about -15. Okay. Now, there's before and after. Before and after. So you see that the yellows have moved to the reds, basically. Okay, and what I'm doing at this stage is that I'm color correcting as well as color grading. Do you get it? Okay, so moving, and then the next thing obviously I'll do is that I'll select another. I don't, mind you, I wouldn't work on the same selective color adjustment layer, because what I'm going to do is that I'll create another one, and this would be influenced by the layer beneath it. If you begin to work here, that means that it's going to be influenced by what's beneath it. Do you understand? And then what you've done first with the yellows will be compromised. So you want to create another selective color adjustment layer on it, and then this time you go into the reds. Okay, so it's like you move everything into the reds, and now you want to correct the reds now. Do you get it? So over here in the reds, we want to bring in a bit of cyan. That means we are removing the reds. A bit of cyan, about 4. Okay, so you can see already. You want to bring in a bit of magenta. That's 2. And then we want to bring in a bit of yellows back. That's about 8. Okay, so that's what we've done. So we moved everything to make everything red. Then we are correcting the red now. So this is before and after, before and after. This is before the yellows were corrected. Yellows were corrected here. They moved the reds back to where it should be, over here. That's beautiful. All right. But then we are losing that rich black tone that you may see in the final image. So what we want to do here is that we want to throw a black and white adjustment layer over this, over here. I mean, if you don't have this panel here, you can just come to Windows, and then you come to Adjustments, and then you would have this panel over here. Or you can come down here to your adjustment layers, and then everything is here. So you want to throw a black and white over this. All right, that's nice. And then you come to the preset and go to the blue filter. Beautiful, as you can see. So what you want to do is to change the blend mode from normal to multiply. Voila. Okay, and then obviously, as you would guess, we dial down the opacity to somewhere around, according to what looks good to you, I think 40, 41, say 40. 40 works for me over here. So there's a huge difference before, after, before, after. Do you get it? All right, beautiful. So after doing this, I would want to go back into the reds and make a little bit of fine adjustment. Like I said, I'll be doing a lot of adjustments, tiny adjustments as we go. So I want to come back to the selective color adjustment layer, then go into the reds again. And this time, I want to add a bit of cyan still. I want to remove some of the reds, add a bit of cyan, but let me see. I think 6 is fine. 6 is fine here. All right, because I don't want it to look very reddish. I want it to look as muted as possible. Okay, and also add a bit of magenta here, so that, you know, green. What I realized is that when you put greens into shadows, it makes skin tones dirty. That sort of, you have this sort of dirty skin tone. So that's what I want to prevent over here. So you put in a bit of magenta, about 3, and also a bit of yellows. Think about 5 is fine. That's into the reds. Okay. All right. So this is before and after. Before and after. Okay, so the next thing is that, as you can see here, because we introduced a lot of yellows into the blacks or the shadows, the hair is looking very yellowish. Okay, and that's something we don't want to do. And one thing too is that don't be so conventional. Everyone tells you that, oh, put blues into shadows, put blues into shadows. I mean, it's not always the case. Sometimes you have to just go against the rule. What I said is that there are no rules. Just work on your judgment. What looks good to you, you're good to go. Okay, so what I'll do here is that I'll come and create another selective color adjustment layer, and I'll go into the blacks. Okay, and the blacks here, I want to add a bit of cyan. Okay, that's about 1, just to remove the reds, and also a bit of blues. That's -1. So cyan and blue, just one, -1. Very tiny adjustments. Okay, then I want to invert this layer, Control I. All right, and then with my brush tool, I'll go in and then paint into the hair, paint white as foreground color, paint on the adjustment layer, paint into this. You don't have to be so careful. Why? Because we are targeting the blacks, and in this image, the blacks are quite obvious. Don't have so much blacks in the skin, but then you don't want to spill and bleed into the skin tones. Okay, so over here, you want to come in here also. Very tiny adjustments. Okay, you want to come in. And then you want to come in on the hair and the headband over here. Mind you, you may not see the changes. Whatever you're doing, you may not see the changes, but like I said, you need to train your eyes to see what your eyes don't see. Do you understand? Or I can put it to train your mind to see what your eyes don't see. Okay, then I'll come in on the eyebrow also, because I want to retain some level of blacks in there. Okay, so this is before and after, very minute, and you wouldn't see it so obviously. All right, so from there, I think my skin tone is a bit too yellowish for me here. So go back to the selective color adjustment layer. And I'm using the selective color to control the individual colors inside. Now, if I use color balance, I'm controlling the tones. If I use selective color, what I'm doing is that I'm controlling the individual colors in the tones. Do you get it? All right, so I'll go back in there into my yellows. And then what I want to do is to bring in a bit of blues into my yellows. You can see, right? Just blues, full blues, and then full yellow. So I want to bring a bit of blues. So that's about -5. Okay. And then what I want to do, I mean the yellows, don't forget. What I want to do is I also bring in a bit of greens. Just a tiny bit, about -3. I want to bring in a bit of, I think I'll make the blues -2. And then what I'll do is that I'll bring in a bit of magenta, -3. That's fine. Think. Okay, so all right, so let me redo this. I think let me go back into my yellows, and then in here I would bring in a bit of cyan, or let me bring in a bit of red rather, because the cyan is a bit too much. It's about -5, And then my magenta, I'll bring about -3, like I said. Then my blues, and a lot of blues, okay, in here. Think about negative, this looks good. -11 is fine. Then what I'll do is I'll come to the blacks. Now the blacks, a lot of people don't know what the black in here, the colors means. It just stands for contrast. So if I bring this all the way down, see the yellows would lose the contrast. And then if I send it all the way up, the contrast is very high. So the black is just for contrast. So over here, I would decrease the contrast a bit. That's a -2. Okay, perfect. So that's for the yellows over here. Okay, because the yellows were looking a bit too saturated for me. Yeah, and heavy. They were looking very heavy for me. So I did this before and after. Okay, now I want to add a bit of levels to it. Lift this a bit. And then in the shadows I want to add 2. Okay. All right, so I think that is fine. Okay, so what I'll do over here is that there's a problem that you may face most of the times. That is with makeup. Okay, you realize that the hue of the face of the makeup may not be exactly that of the body, as we can see here. You need to pay critical attention to see this. So there's a lot of reds in the body as compared to the cyans in the face. So I would have to match the skin tones over here. So this is just simple. I'll just create a mask for the face and then tune the reds a bit. So basically, what I'm going to do is that I'll mask the face. And this is how I mask the face, okay? It's an old technique. So I'm going to use my HSL to color correct this. So I come here, then I colorize. Okay, and I select a color that helps me to visibly identify where I'm masking. So I invert the layer mask with my brush, and then I begin to paint where I want to mask. So as you can see, over here, I can visibly see where I'm masking. It's a quick step in doing this. You don't have to be too careful. You don't have a ton of colors in here that you're trying to avoid not to bleed into. So yeah, basically, so now select the skin tone. If we had I don't know how you call it, but eyeshadows and all that colored, you'd want to be careful so that you don't select those colors. Okay, all right. So basically, there's a very rough selection, not too rough, but and not too fine. I mean, you can use a bunch of tools here. I think this quick selection can work. Okay, basically. Okay, so once I'm done selecting this, what I'll do is that I'll go and check the colorize and bring everything to normal. Okay, then over here, I want to just move the hue a bit towards the reds. That's about -2. This is fine. Okay, so we have before and after. You have to pay attention to see it. Before and after. Before and after, just to color match the skin tones. So now that we've done this, I think I'll go back still into my reds a bit. As a selective color adjustment here. I just want to refine the reds a bit. Go to the reds, and then bring in a bit of red. That's about -3. It's fine. Yeah, around here. And then I bring in a bit of blues into the reds. So it's not looking too heavy with the yellows. 3. And also a bit of greens, so that it's not too hot red. Okay, -3. So 3, 3, 3. All right, that's before and after. And okay, I think I need to add a bit of levels to this. Pop this a bit. All right, and then also the blacks a bit. All right, and then let me see. Okay, so I need to go back into the yellows and also refine that a bit. It's looking a bit still very heavy for me. So I'll go into the yellows and then add a bit of yellows. That's about 1. And then dial down the cyan in the yellows. Let's make it a bit reddish. Good. 5 is fine. And then add a bit of magenta. So I'm trying to eliminate the yellows as much as possible. That's good. And then a final one I'll do, we'll go back to the reds. So like I said, a series of steps, a series of small steps as you go through and you're analyzing. That's what I need to, so it's not like a short, as you analyze, you work on something, you analyze it, you go back, then add something to correct it. All right, so I'll go to the reds finally, and then I want to add a bit of cyan, and then a bit of magenta, and a bit of yellows. Okay, so we are here. All right, so basically we have created our skin tone. If I should group this all the way down, then create a group. This is before and after. Before and after. Okay, so as continuation, what I would do to this image is that I'm going to let the highlights pop a bit, okay, by adding a bit of shine onto it. And it's very simple. I'll just create a curves adjustment layer, hold on to the highlights over here, the highest point, and then drag it this way a bit. Okay, all right. And I'm going to invert it, okay, with my brush. Opacity and flow 100%. White is my foreground color. I want to paint in a bit of the highlights this way. Bit over here. Tiny bit over here. Don't worry about it. We'll deal with everything right now. Okay. All right, then 50%. Let me do this 50%. Okay, basically. So, and also here. All right, so what I'll do is that I'll go to my blend if, that's double clicking this, go into my blend if, and then I taught on this the last time, so you can reference it. Then I'm going to move the slider to the highlights till I see the effect confined to where I want it to. All right, then I'll split it, hold Alt, then move the slider, move this one back, and this one up a bit. Okay, all right. So there's before and after, before and after. You want to reduce the opacity way down. It's about 24. Yeah, very subtle changes. Okay, that's fine. I'll create another one again for the hottest regions. Invert it. Now, come over here, flow and opacity 100. Add shine to the lip a bit. Okay. Good. That's perfect. Go into my blend if again. Move it all the way. I'll see it confined Okay. Before, after. Need to reduce my opacity, but not as I did first. It's as low as I did. Okay, so I think about 40. But it's still high. About 30 is fine. All right, so basically, this is it. This is it. This is how you can create, you can color grade this photo and move it from here to here. If you need to change the background, it's already good. If you need to change the background, what I would do is that I'll come to this layer here, this stamped layer, with my quick selection. Photoshop 2019 would give you the option to select subject. You can just click on that and then Photoshop does the magic for you. And we are good. We are somewhere good. Yeah. So I want to feather this. Right click, feather by 1 pixel. And then I'll come here, then click on this HSL with the selection in there. So it creates an automatic mask, which I'll just invert, Control I. And now I can colorize and then move it wherever I want to move it. Okay. 25. All right. Okay, so the good thing about colorizing is that you can color black. So when you colorize and you have hair that's black, and it doesn't select it fully, come in here with your brush and then paint white into the edges here. You can't color black. What are you going to color black to? So basically that's if the person has black hair. So you can be a bit careless with the edges and nothing would happen. Okay, all right, so basically okay, so I'll stamp a visible layer, Control Alt Shift E. So this is, let me do this. So this is before and after, before and after. And so that's how I color graded this image. If you have any questions, you can ask me on my Instagram page. That's ramstudios_gh. And don't forget to share this video with friends and keep practicing. It's a lot of steps, but try to understand it. I've broken it down for you. Try to understand it and also practice a lot. And don't be so bent on also copying people's looks or people's presets. You understand? Just understand the steps, and that's why I took my time to explain how the adjustment layers work, how I achieved this, how I achieved that, so that you can also know what to do when you're confronted with your own image. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and turn on the notification. I'll try and do as many videos as I can during this period of lockdown, and also try and stay safe. We need you guys. Try and stay safe. Okay, all right. So till I catch you again, I'm out.